Hey everybody, Monica Guzman coming to you live once again. It's gonna be the last time for at least a month. As I said, we're in the middle of this year of health, and so there's just a bunch of stuff that we have to do. And I don't want to bounce around and not gain consistency. So basically, I will not be streaming the rest of October. Today's October 1st, right? Um, and so, right now, the way I'm looking at the calendar, I'll be back streaming live the second week of November. And when I get back, that's going to be the back really heavily into the baseball stuff. At that point, I will be overlaying Babe Ruth's career or other players' careers with Babe Ruth's career, such as Hank Aaron, Willie Mays. There's no need to do that with Jackie Robinson. We know that Jackie Robinson was only voted in because he's African. He was the first African to play in American baseball. Reminder that the Negro Leagues integrated into American baseball. It wasn't American baseball integrating into the Negro Leagues. If that had been the case, I wouldn't have an argument because then it's like, okay, they're paying by their standards, which we all know by now is a different standard than American baseball. And but nonetheless, because of the leadership in MLB, MLB has descended into the Negro League standard, and that's why the ratings are what they are. That's why America stopped being America's pastime, or baseball stopped being America's pastime. In 1972, according to Gallup, the NFL became Americans' favorite sport, and it's held on to that spot, even though they are at, they have the largest slice of a smaller pie, right? That's great, and that's great. That's the world that we live in. We live in a world of PR, right? They have to engineer narratives, they have to create moments in order to sell their products and services. And that got started early 1900s. It was a Jewish man who developed the art of public relations. So we shouldn't be shocked. We shouldn't be shocked at the state of America based on who's running the country. I've brought up several things. Um, Something that I will do once I get back is start really tying this in, and I will give you visuals, such as some of my other favorite charts. Um, for example, this one. This is an important chart. It shows you how the American economy changed pre-Civil War, post-Civil War, post-World War II. It also tells you, right, the Pilgrims landed on this soil, and it shows you that for 300 years, Americans developed the country without the internet, without cars, without phones, without um, without there were no drugs. Nobody was synthesizing drugs on American soil. Nobody was, I mean, they technically weren't importing drugs either. Um, no medicine the way we know it in 2021. No airplanes. So I've got a lot to go through today. I'm going to try to do it in a timely manner, but you should expect me to go over an hour. So let me start with some sports. So I didn't realize that last night Well, I realized it a couple minutes before the game started. Madison Bumgarner had his homecoming in San Francisco, which is kind of neat, given that Tom Brady's going to have his homecoming this Sunday night. I thought it was a wonderful moment. It gives the Bochy San Francisco Giant fans closure, given that Farhan Zaidi traded away. You know, okay, so Christy Mathewson is the greatest New York Giant. I mean, I think we could say that Madison Bumgarner's the greatest San Francisco Giant. I mean, you're just being obtuse if you're going to say Willie Mays is the greatest San Francisco Giant. He's just an African who did a bunch of tricks in the outfield, not a champion, not a sportsman of the year. I mean, it's just, I'm not going to, for me, the time of being politically correct is long gone. I never came into these streams with this strategy of being politically correct. That's just stupid. If I wanted to be politically correct, I wouldn't say anything at all. Like, it's just stupid. Willie Mays was just an African in the outfield who did tricks. The MLB Marxists believe that Willie Mays is the greatest MLB player. That's just them being Marxist. It's stupid. And I've learned some things over the last 3 weeks, and I'm a little bit it blows my mind a little bit, the stuff that's going on. You know, why are white birth rates down? Well, it's because so many white young males are spending their time playing video games. They are spending their time smoking pot. They are spending their time consuming alcohol and drugs. And then on top of it, they're spending their time criticizing women because they reject them. And I understand that. So the gaming, pot smoking, overweight white nerd who's 35 and still playing with collectibles and Legos, I understand why you're bitter against women in general. They obviously are going to reject you. I mean, what do you think you have to offer? Damaged babies because you damaged your sperm's DNA? Okay. I mean, and then so Ramsey Paul, and I've seen this meme go around before. So it's the one where you've got, 10 the figures on the bathroom, right? The women, the men. You've got 10 on each side to signify people. We rate people on a scale of 1 to 10, right? And it shows that all women go for the top 5 men. So your woman who's rated at 1 goes for, she aims high, right? As opposed to remaining within her, there's a way to say that and I can't remember it, right? Within her lane, right? Women don't do that anymore. Well, yeah, I realized that guys, your nerds do that too. Like, you're not aiming, if you're rated at a 5, you're not going for 5, you're going for 10. And that, I wonder, so I've talked about that fiction is damaging for women, and I'm realizing that fiction is also damaging for men. So how many of you guys out there think that the Big Bang Theory is real life. Like, how many of you think that a beautiful woman is going to move in next to you and you're going to end up marrying her? Like, I mean, to me, that's where you guys are at. And I'm just bringing this up because I observed that last week, and now I understand why white birth rates are down. Now I understand why there's so many nerds. So the nerds, I thought were concentrated within MLB and analytics, and it turns out that you guys are widespread. Maybe you're politically agnostic, but that's why you've got MLB pushing so hard to gain traction with the nerd population, because there's this weird thing going on where they're trying to grow you guys. So I'm definitely not interested in growing the nerd population, whether you're obviously MLB analytics or whether you're politically agnostic. In order for America to continue thriving, we definitely need to lower the nerd population and increase the alpha potential population. And so for me, I live in real life. The internet complements what I'm working on. I will not be teaming up with nerds on any of this stuff. Like, if you're an outright druggy, video game playing, out of shape, overweight nerd, you're not my target audience. Now, what I wanted to say before is it's different. So let's say you're at a 5 right now because you're overweight. So obviously, one of the easiest things to do is to lose weight. Change a diet, you get some physical exercise in you, you get off the drugs, you get off the alcohol, you get off the couch or your favorite gaming chair or whatever, and you easily can bump yourself up to a 7. In some cases, you will bump yourself up to an 8. And so the issue becomes, though, your age. How old are you at that point? And is your sperm viable at that point? Are you somebody that's going to give birth to Down syndrome children, cancer kids, diabetic kids, whatever other diseases children are being born with in 2021? So there's a lot going on now. But if you want to be happier, if you need to lose weight, lose your weight, get off the gambling. I don't buy into this gambling because you've got risk-taking behavior tendencies. I think that's just another excuse to be, hang on you guys. Okay, so stuff is going on this end and I'm not sure. So, I think gambling's just an excuse. It's just another excuse to be degenerate, avoid living in real life. And I'm saying these things to hopefully spark something in some of you guys to want to improve yourselves for yourselves. Again, I'm not sure that you guys should have babies if you're going to have deficient babies. I think there's already enough sick people out there right now, right? America has enough sick people and they're importing far, far more. So we've got to focus on breeding the healthiest among us. And I say it for Mexicans and Americans. Given the realization that a Mexican is an Aztec with Spanish or French blood, that gives us enough euro to have the potential for higher IQs. I believe that the Jewish influence spreads beyond the American borders. Obviously, Europe is in turmoil. They're way further gone than America is. And Mexico's on the cusp of experiencing what America is experiencing right now. So a couple years ago, I was in a different California city for a while. and it was beautiful. And I that was actually the first experience I had with Jewish people in real life. So for me, Jews, so I've watched television and I knew there were Jews, but they they're just they're not American. They're not, we see them on television. All your Jewish actors, right? Like especially the old ones. I mean, they look frail, worn out, just like life wasn't kind to them, right? They didn't age well, but they get by because they use comedy. Um, so I experienced, I had interactions with Jews for the first time in real life, and I realized something about their relationship with the African population. And in that tiny city, there were some Mexicans there, but they weren't Mexican. They were Mexicans advocating for the people who live in Mexico but don't speak Spanish. So like your native people, like possibly your descendants from other natives, not necessarily the Aztecs, whatever other tribes were hanging out on Mexican land before it became Mexico, well, when the Spanish first arrived and did their thing. And so right now, okay, whether some white Americans still want to put together the ethno state, whatever, do your thing. What I'm saying is, while you're concentrating on trying to build the white ethno state, there's a lot of shit going on around you. There are Afghans being imported into your country. There are Haitians being imported into your country. There are, the Somali thing is kind of over now, but there are Somalis that have taken over Minnesota. You've got to accept that Mexicans have been running around California since California became a thing. Um, and it's not even Mexicans crossing over the border anymore. It's Central Americans, South Americans. So what I'm trying to say is that right now, Mexicans and Americans have the same problem source. As long as there's Americans denying this, you guys are just not, you're not even going to get close to building your white ethno state. Like, it's just not going to happen. You're going, the Afghanis will do their thing, the Haitians will do their thing before you even get close to building your white ethno state. I'm not saying that we need to be allies, but I'm saying that you guys need to refocus. And pointing the fingers isn't going to do it. And so the other thing that I continue to see happening is these nerd fights on Twitter. Like, it's stupid at this point to be engaging in nerd fights online. Like, I need to remind you that white birth rates are down. Like, and you're engaging in nerd fights. Again, I personally will not be seeking help from or teaming up with nerds engaging in that kind of behavior, even white nerds. I don't think the Mexican nerd has grown that much. I think there's still time to turn that around. But that's why I'm going to continue leaning even more heavily toward athletes. It's always been my thing. Like I said before, I grew up around athletes who didn't do drugs, who didn't drink, who didn't abuse their bodies. And they were the safest guys to be around in terms of how they treated you. And they were also extremely intelligent. So my goal, or I believe my journey takes me into through that route, teaming up with those guys, finding those guys. I believe that they are the best hope as far as regrowing the American alpha population. And And I say that because I've studied enough of American baseball history to be sure that that's it. Cap Anson, A.G. Spalding, Ty Cobb, Honus Wagner, Walter Johnson, Christy Mathewson, Cy Young, and obviously Babe Ruth were American men. They weren't jocks. They definitely weren't nerds. Christy Mathewson was the most intellectual of the bunch, but even he was a good Christian, right? He didn't cheat on his wife. Unfortunately, Christy Mathewson passed away too soon as he was accidentally gassed while serving in World War I. He served alongside Ty Cobb. Christy Mathewson, the anniversary of his death is coming up in October. I'm a little bummed out that I will not be streaming to remember him on that day, but I'll definitely have something in November. And November's got a lot of baseball stuff that I'll be talking about, in addition to Veterans Day, which is another cool one to talk about. And then we've got Thanksgiving. I definitely want to talk about Thanksgiving. Not Thanksgiving stuff that we do in 2021, but the origins of Thanksgiving, because that gives us the opportunity to talk about the Pilgrims. It gives us an opportunity to talk about Edward Winslow and his letter. So I tried to do a quick search and I'm still not sure if 2021 marks the 400th anniversary of the first Thanksgiving or if that took place in 2020. Nonetheless, that's hundreds of years of a tradition that became American that we should be acknowledging, because it gives us an opportunity to talk about American history. Just like Christmas music gives me the opportunity to discuss some American history with my kid. While it's true that, Elvis ended up the way he did, but it's an opportunity to talk about a time in America that's different from where we are right now. And so I guess I use learning opportunities without saying learning opportunities, but so let me start reeling my way back because I've definitely gone far off. So let me reiterate. There's a source of America's problems, and the same source is becoming Mexico's problem too. Those who want to deny it, those who want to jump around it, do so. Do it. I will not be teaming up with you though. And we can all do our own thing. I will not even be engaging or following along your arguments because they're moot. America has problems. The source of the problems, at this point, we should all know what it is. It starts with the Jewish population. Apparently, Paul Joseph Watson's reporting that Dianne Feinstein has produced a bill that will force Americans to show their vaccination papers if they want to travel around the country. Well, she's Jewish. Of course she's doing this. She's Jewish, okay? I mean, you got to understand that what happened was, so the Jews made a mess in Germany. And the Germans said, fuck this shit, we're not putting up with it, right? They chased out the Jews. They attempted to chase out the Jews. And stuff went wrong. Thus, you had everything that happened after World War I, World War II, right? Or during World War I up to the end of World War II, right? Jews need to take responsibility for what they did in Germany, a country that wasn't even theirs to begin with. So then they come over, they flee, and they found refuge in America. The Jewish man affiliated with the baseball documentary guy wrote a book not that long ago calling Americans bigots because he felt that Americans didn't take in enough Jews in the beginning of the 1900s. This is the guy that came up with the rotisserie league, which is the precursor to fantasy sports, a Jewish dude somehow feeling ownership over American soil. Oh, you Americans are bigots. You didn't take in more Jews. Okay, well, whatever. I guess. I mean, I don't guess, but like this is the type of attitude that Jews residing on American soil possess. I mean, what the fuck? Seriously. Um, so you've got Jews fleeing Germany over the mess that they made. Um, and then on top of that, they bring their grievances with them. The word racism is a Jewish term, just like abortion is a Jewish value. So you've got these Jews bringing over their stuff, their baggage, including the word racism. Nobody on American soil was running around calling each other racist. That's a Jewish thing. So what and moreover, why are you, if you're not a Jew, if you're not using the term racism against a white person, why is that frowned upon? Okay, so Jews were upset that Germans became nationalists, right? Germany for Germans. That upset the Jews. Somehow they felt that they had ownership to German soil. Okay. So they call them, what is it? Nationalist socialist, right? That's racism. It's racist. Oh my God, you Germans who wanted Germany for Germans, you're racist because you're nationalist. So they bring that baggage with them. So now you've got Americans residing on American soil being all about them, right? So America for Americans. Oh, that's racist according to Jews. You don't have a right to your own soil, even though your ancestors braved crossing the seas, these New England winters, bears, pneumonia, the Wild Wild West. Oh, you're racist for being nationalist on a soil that your ancestors helped cultivate. And they're doing the same thing to Mexicans now, but the target with Mexicans is they're not targeting Mexico. They're targeting the Spanish and French blood that we've got. Okay, so I don't know if I want to. Hang on. I need to see myself. Okay, so it's still streaming, but I'm not sure what's going on. So I'm going to keep talking until the thing says that it's about to end if I don't take action. Okay, so you've got these Jews calling Germans racist for being nationalist on their own soil. They bring that baggage with them to America. And so Americans are racist for being nationalists on a soil that was cultivated by their ancestors. They're doing something similar to Mexico. So I think what they're doing is they are riling up the native population residing in Mexico. So the ones that don't speak Spanish and descend from, I don't think it's Aztecs. I think it's the other smaller native tribes that were hanging out there, because there are some. And so Mexico's a target because they're targeting our Spanish and French blood. So again, I get that there's a group out there that wants to build the white ethno state on America, and obviously you have the right to do that. What I'm saying is I'm not sure how productive that is, given that at every turn you're being replaced. So They're importing the Afghans. Or Afghanis. They're importing the Haitians, the Somalis in Minnesota. They've imported whatever else that they've imported and spread it out across the country. And I remember a few years ago in Murrieta, California, when that town didn't allow the buses carrying whatever Africans Obama was importing at that time, they did not let the bus unload those people into their town. So the reason why I'm never going to take threats from nerds on the right or the left, MLB and out, is because you guys take no action. While you're building your so-called websites and whatever else, your country is being flooded with other people. And you can complain. You can complain about, oh, the Hispanics or, oh, the Mexicans or whatever. And I'm not saying this because I'm trying to form an alliance with you guys. I'm just getting this out. I want to say it because I'm not going to stream for a month. And I think you guys need to hear it. And let's see if you take any action with it if you end up hearing it. You guys need to figure this shit out. It's not going to end well, right? You're going to be replaced before you have the opportunity to even think about forming the white ethno-state again. It's awful. I mean, we're seeing in New York, the new governor is going to replace people who don't want the vaccine with the National Guard. Like, where are they going to stop the National Guard from coming in? Are there people going to be there to stop the scabs from walking onto the premises? Where are you guys? Where are you Americans fighting back? Where are you? They did it in Murrieta, California. They've done it in other places where they stop the buses from unloading other people. And I'm obviously not calling for battles and wars and stuff like that, but I'm asking, if you want to be taken seriously by anybody, you need to take more action in real life. Now, you could prove me wrong. In 10 years, you will build your internet and you will rule the world online. I could be wrong, of course, but right now, the way it seems, I doubt that's going to happen. I think you'll be replaced by other people before you even get that far. Unless you're going to be teaming up with them. That's different. And that I've seen that happen before. I've seen it happen. I have some political experience and I've seen it happen before. So, your Jack Posobics and your Scott Adams and your Dave Rubins and your Larry Elders could end up teaming up with the people they supposedly rail against. I've seen stuff like that happen before in politics, and that's not a strange bedfellows scenario. It's a this was the plan all along scenario. And I don't put faith in you guys. I've seen people with so much enthusiasm, so much energy get taken for a ride by your Marco Rubios and your Ted Cruzes and your Tom Cottons and your Mitt Romneys and your McCains and all that stuff. I think the best we had was Trump. And I think those of you what do they call you guys? You e-nerds, e-boys, whatever. Those of you that criticize Trump, I think that whatever. I don't have faith in your online temper tantrums, whatever. Like, I just don't. So let me reel myself back. So I started talking about Madison Bumgarner, his homecoming last night. I thought it was wonderful. I think it was more of an engineered moment. But those San Francisco fans that are still, I mean, there were only what, like 23,000 there last night. So obviously, San Francisco used to sell out. I believe they had several seasons of several sellouts. And so now, what are you guys garnering, like half capacity? So the San Franciscans are speaking. They are no longer attending games at the rate that they used to, and it started. I believe it started when they realized that the team was going into one of those infamous MLB rebuilds. I love how the best used car salesman ever at the Baseball Haiti Network tried to blame it on Madison Bumgarner, but no, that was just a trend that was already happening. But super cute, super cute, super cute. But he's I've said this before. That guy could work for the devil. He's very good at his job. I remember one postseason post game, he said that it's up to him to stir the pot, and he does it very well. He's outstanding at his job. So Madison Bumgarner had his moment last night. San Francisco Giant fans from the Bochy era got their closure. It's tragic that Madison Bumgarner doesn't get to finish out his career in a San Francisco Giant uniform, but at the same time, I mean, does he want to be in that global homo degenerate environment that Gabe Kapler and Farhan Zaidi have built under the ownership that has obviously been in agreement with this kind of culture the entire time? They're the ones that brought in steroids Barry Bonds. The San Francisco Stadium was built so that Bonds would hit more home runs. And then you've got, Willie Mays, who is just an African in the outfield during tricks, and they paid him a lot of money, but he never garnered them a championship. Difference between American baseball culture and MLB culture, which is just the two eras. The two sections are just run by completely different cultures. American culture is about winning. It's an American thing. Americanism is based on winning. It's based on exploration and adventure and freedom and individuality and just freedom, right? Whereas MLB culture is based on Judaism, which is all about propping up the African and their extension of Dominicans. Like I've said before, do not be surprised when they stick a couple Haitians in there. It's gonna happen simply because the Haitian is another descendant of the African. So I think it's great that Mad Bum had his moment. I'm watching Mad Bum and Buster Posey's moment. One of the greatest batteries, possibly of all time. So when Mad Bum goes into the hall, obviously Buster Posey should go in there with them. It just depends on when both of them retire, right? You could get the Mickey Mantle situation with the other guy. Obviously not famous enough for me to know him, but that pitcher that the analytics crew seems to like. Mickey Mantle got in on the first ballot and the other guy got in on the second, but he didn't mind because they were able to go into the hall together. Obviously, Mad Bum should go in on the first. I mean, dude, look at him. Like, that's a baseball player. Mad Bum is a baseball player. He's just built for this thing, man. Somebody called him the guy who helped create the phrase pitchers who rake. I mean, obviously we know Babe Ruth is the original pitchers who rake, right? But Mad Bum just the way he's built. I mean he's a rodeo badass, so obviously he's built this way too. There's reasons for his build, right? again, I really hope that you're a dad too, Madison. You're gonna have some pretty awesome kids. Okay, so from Mad Bump's homecoming moment, we go to Tom Brady's homecoming moment. That's going to be super exciting. The Sunday Night Football on NBC Twitter account, your marketing department did an outstanding job with that ad that you tweeted a few days ago, the one with Adele. That, ads receive awards. That is an award winning ad. Like, we all agree. And there's so many components to this. How long is it? Is it a 30-second? You're going to hear noise. 45 seconds. So it's a 45-second ad. And in it has so many components. Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, the championship banners, Tom Brady in his new uniform, the fireworks, Gillette Stadium. It's such a wonderful ad. The emotion of the crowd. So why look at I know I've had that feeling that you see from two of the fans. One of them is the guy in the Patriots jersey, and the second one is the kid. I know how that feels. It's when you experience authentic joy in your life, the way those fans look is how it feels. It's these moments of I know how that feels, and it's pretty great. And American professional sports used to give us that moment, because you need to understand that the American was able to balance their belief in God with entertainment. This is before, again, you've got to understand, this is before World War I, before World War II, before the takeover of American culture by Jews, where Americans remained pure in their belief of God. A.G. Spalding got rid of gambling in American baseball. He got rid of playing on Sunday, and in some states it was illegal to play on Sunday. In addition, he got rid of alcohol consumption on site. So you can't tell me that this man didn't have a solid belief in God and Christianity. He had it in spades. He had it way more than people in 2021 do. Like, he had it, and he showed it. So before World War I, Americans could balance their love for physical competition with their love of God, or their belief in God, however you want to state that. And so with Tom Brady, I'm going to watch that game. I think NBC should have several pregame hours. Don't do your BLM propaganda nonsense stuff. I don't want to see that, but I want to see, like the Super Bowl this year. I had the TV on all day. I left it on. That was full of BLM propaganda, but in between they had, just analysis and stuff like that. I would watch it. Oh, you can't though, right? Because there's Sunday day games. Oh, you can't. You have Sunday day games, so you really can't. You've got to give them their windows, right? That's too bad. I would watch it all day. If there was pregame stuff leading into the Tom Brady versus Bill Belichick game, I would watch all of it. I would leave the TV on all day and just watch whatever you guys have on. I would obviously ignore the BLM propaganda, but I would watch it all day. I could watch analysis all day. I'm not going to get the NFL Network or anything like that, just for this, but I would watch NBC all day. So this is going to be Tom Brady's homecoming to New England. The fans, it's the people that are going to feel it the most are the fans. We are the ones that invest ourselves in this form of entertainment. We're the ones who invest ourselves. We live and die with every pitch, with every basket, with every Hail Mary, whatever. Like every time the ball goes in the air, we live and die with it. We live and breathe with it, however you want to say that. And so this game is, the fans are going to feel it, especially the New England fans who were there with Tom Brady during his 20-year career. 20 years is it is a relationship. I mean, think about the things in your life. How many things have you had in your life for 20 years? Like, not that much. In 2021, are people even married 20 years anymore? Not as much as before, right? My dog, I hope my dog lives to be 20. And so this game is going to be felt by the fans, especially the ones that are there. Hopefully the Tom Brady fans all got tickets, as opposed to just making it a celebrity thing. Nobody cares. No one gives a shit about celebrities at games. It's so stupid. Like every time when I used to watch Dodger games and they would show celebrities on Twitter, everyone would be like, no one gives a fuck about celebrities anymore. So they did it for the Tom Brady LA game too, and they only show like African celebrities. It's like, yeah, no one gives a shit. So hopefully NBC will not focus on celebrities that no one gives a shit about and just focus on Tom Brady, the teams, Belichick, and the fans. The actual fans, the ones that have been there for Tom for the last 20 years, the ones who took it the hardest when he didn't resign and end his career in New England. I mean, I personally would have liked to keep seeing him in a blue uniform, but he looks pretty good in the white one too. In this white with red. Pirate. Arr. So it's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be it is going to be his homecoming. I think Tom Brady's going to feel it. But I think he's going to move on because he's got a game to win, right? This game counts. It's not, it's not a throwaway game. The game's going to count. And a lot of people, I thought he sounded a little weird too during his interviews yesterday. And it actually makes sense. Tom Brady's fully vaccinated, right? But he was in LA, and in LA the weather's changing, and it's not that you necessarily have allergies. It's just there's stuff floating in the air right now. I mean, summer brings mold spores, right? And then spring brings pollen. So whatever fall brings, it's what's floating in the air. And given that Tom Brady doesn't live in LA, even people who do, it impacts your nasal passages. Let's say that, right? It's not the flu. You chickens. I'm sure they've got him on an IV drip or whatever to help him feel better. So, tons of exciting stuff with athletes that I like. Tom Brady, Madison Bumgarner, by extension, Buster Posey, half of the greatest baseball battery in MLB by several accounts that we care about anyways. So I'm gonna watch. I guess I'm not gonna pay a ticket for it, but I'm gonna watch this new Sopranos movie, and I'm going to maybe. I'm rewatching The Big Bang Theory right now. Um, I'm rewatching The Big Bang Theory, so that's one of the reasons why I have so much more opinion on this nerd stuff happening. Uh, I I mean, again, is that what happened? Do you guys think that you're going to have your own version of the Big Bang Theory? So you think that even though you're short nerds, you're gonna land the penny, or you're going to, again. So I don't think I finished my thought on the Justin Verlander Kate Upton marriage. What I was trying to say is, even in the Big Bang Theory, Leonard the nerd got bossed around by Penny, right? I don't know if I want kids. I don't know if I want to marry you. Oh, I can't tell you that I love you. So, do I think that Justin Verlander is the alpha of his household? No, I don't. No, I don't. Kate Upton, before she announced that she was pregnant for her birthday, posted herself naked. Obviously, she didn't show the goods, but she posted a picture or a video of herself naked. And we know she has tons of followers, right? So this is someone's wife uh, posting images of herself to her account, to her thousands of followers, naked. And I believe this was right before she announced that she was pregnant, and on her birthday or something like that. So, a self respecting husband, an alpha husband, it doesn't matter how beautiful your wife is. Do you allow that something like that to happen? Not, I don't think you should. But how much control does Justin Verlander have over Kate Upton, given that he's never going to land another Kate Upton in his life? So she's as good as it gets for him, right? So that gives her the power in the relationship. She, if she leaves, can she land herself? Can she land better than Justin Verlander? Absolutely. When models start to realize that their time is coming to an end as a model, they find themselves wealthy businessmen. They all do it, right? Tyra Banks, Cindy Crawford, Christy Brinkley too, right? Like, uh, they all do it. They all do it. They can. Kate Upton post Justin Verlander, land herself something better than Verlander. Absolutely, she'll be fine. Um, and I'm gonna throw this in there, even though I'm gonna throw this in there. I'm gonna throw this in there, okay? So, do I have the same concern for Tom Brady? Kind of. So when he went on Howard Stern, is it a year ago now? And so Giselle is a career woman, right? She's she's an independent spirit too. And she's beautiful. I mean, I think, in my opinion, there are other women who are more beautiful, but nonetheless, she obviously made. I remember I was in college when she made her splash, and one of the reasons why she was so famous is because she was one of the few models on the runway who had a beautiful body and boobs, right? It wasn't common for models, right? Skinny models usually have no boobs. So Giselle made her splash because she has a chest. And but Tom Brady's so focused on being Tom Brady, and we know that Tom Brady is the greatest NFL player, and he's an entrepreneur, he's a businessman, he apparently enjoys fashion, and he's a dad. He's a dad and he's a son. So a woman, the kind of woman that would be happiest with Tom Brady is the one who allows him to be Tom Brady. And it sounds like Gisele has let him be Tom Brady, but there have been issues from her. She somehow felt like second rate or second place in the relationship. So she wrote him that letter. So I will admit that I worried for Tom Brady. A Tom Brady requires the support from his wife unconditionally. And so I was like, man, is she bossing Tom Brady around? Like, you know, I wouldn't want that for him. Tom Brady needs the full support of his spouse. And there something that women, and you're going to have so many 40-year-old and above women, you're going to have tons of examples. They're mounting right now, tons of examples of 40-year-old women who are single and childless. They're medicated, they're alcoholics. So young girls will have plenty of examples to see and make a decision. Do you want to be that when you are 40 years old? By the time you're 40, your ability to have children is gone, mostly gone. It's rare for a woman in her 40s to have her first child naturally, without trying too hard, without IVF, without science. So young girls are going to have plenty of examples that are already mounting right now. And so, and look, we all know of Gisele's dating history, right? She did well with Tom Brady. Hopefully she's thankful. So again, I'm not a feminist. And on top of that, I believe that society begins and ends with men. So American society is in trouble because the men are in trouble. So society rises and collapses with men. So that's why one of the things that I want to do is find the guys with alpha potential to help put them in environments that nurtures it. And it's good for America, and it's going to be good for Mexico too. We've got to move on from the sick. We've got to move on from the weak. We've got to move on from the obese. We've got to move on from the drug addicts. We've got to move on from just the population that weighs the rest of society down, the population that prevents us from moving forward, right? America was built because there was no dead weight. The dead weight passed away. So when I say this because you're not my responsibility. I have my child. My responsibility is my child. He's nobody else's responsibility. You don't need to worry about his teeth, or you just don't need to worry about his health. That's my responsibility. So everybody is somebody's responsibility. You are your family's responsibility. You don't get to be a burden on society. You can be a burden on your family, but you don't get to be a burden on society as a whole. We need to move on from the dead weight. Like I said before, there's tons of resorts in Mexico that cater to the terminally ill. Like, you can live the rest of your life watching the sunsets over the whatever, I don't think it's the ocean, but whatever's over there, the beaches, right? The water that makes the beaches in Mexico. We need to gather the healthy, the young, those who do not suffer from mental illnesses or drug addictions or weight problems. And that's where it begins. That's where it begins. And then, so there's a lot there, right? But that's my focus, and I'm not apologizing for it. Obviously, we'll see what happens. But if it's not me, somebody else will carry the torch. And I'm okay with that. That's I have no issues with that at all. Okay, so I've talked about that, you know, those who want to form the white ethno state, you don't have to ally with Mexicans, but we have the same source of our problems. And we need to figure that out. Um, and you're not going to be able to build the white ethno state while the Jews and Marxists are importing all those Afghanis, Haitians, and whatever else they're still importing. So it's just something for you guys to think about. I understand that Styx and Richard Spencer are going to have a lively discussion tonight on the Ralph retort on Killstream. I'm interested in watching that tonight. It's good to listen to well-spoken discussions on topics, right? Again, I don't remember whom Styx was streaming with, but I do remember a few years ago when Styx was telling somebody, what are you going to do? You're going to deport everybody? What are you going to do with people who have friends? Like, and that's part of the issue, right? Is that all these imports have had too much time to settle in and gain friendships. So there may be people who say, nah, you can't deport them, but we all know that deportations need to occur. Personally, I think the most logical process to follow is last in, first out. It'll help repair Minnesota. And then we can kind of go from there, right? Get rid of the Afghanis that just landed, get rid of the Haitians that just came in. They've got to go. They've got to go. If you have any hopes of building your white ethno state, they've got to go. Because let's say you balkanize America. Well, you're still going to have pretty violent people on your borders that you're going to be battling against. And I personally think it's better to save America as a whole so you don't have hostile individuals at your borders. You have two oceans, then you've got Canada and Mexico. I've said before, we can all be friends. So I've talked about Madison Bumgarner. I think he's a total badass. I like Mad Bum. I would pick Mad Bum over Kershaw. I can say that now. It's not something you could say before. You couldn't say stuff like that before. At least if you were still a card-holding LA Dodgers fan, which I am no longer. I turned that in 2017 when I realized that I was rooting against one of their players, Curtis Granderson, who's just a mediocre African. Like, it's so lame. Like, the dude struck out like every other at bat. Like, how fucking lame is it to prop him up? They're trying to make him, I believe what they're trying to do is they're trying to put him in a leadership position. I believe they are grooming him to become the next head of the players union, or give him something that connects him with between MLB and whatever they're trying to do with the Negro Leagues 2.0. It's just like, all right, you want to follow some mediocre dude, whatever, do your thing. Hopefully by that time we won't even care anymore. Okay, I talked about Tom Brady. It's gonna be a great game. I I mean, sometimes it's not about the way Tom Brady plays; it's about the way that the rest of the team plays. Um, so I watched something last week. It was some bureaucrat involved with the LA Rams organization. They were talking about the new stadium. And so I am not going to believe that the LA Rams are anything worth writing about when this bureaucrat came out and admitted that the stadium was built to help fans trigger offsides and miss passes or whatever. Like, it's the stupidest thing to admit that you're engineering advantages for your team. That shows that they're not playing on an even playing field. And now I realized that the Seattle Seahawks were never anything to write home about either, because they kept talking about the fans are the 12th man. It's the fans that caused whatever, right? Offsides or whatever gave the Seattle team an advantage. It had nothing to do with the players. You're admitting that you had to engineer advantages for them. That's stupid. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And then to come out and admit it on television, that's as bad as admitting that the Arizona Diamondbacks, one of their pitchers hurt himself swinging a fucking bat. Like, are you fucking kidding me? That is like, make something up. He hurt himself swinging a bat, a baseball bat. He plays baseball and he hurt himself swinging the fucking bat. Are you kidding me? That is so fucking embarrassing. Like, make something up at that point. Do not make something up. And then you've got this LA Rams bureaucrat admitting that the stadium was built specifically to give their team an advantage. That's like San Francisco built their stadium so Barry Bonds could hit more home runs. Like, it shows you that they're engineering this stuff. It shows you that what you see, you can't trust 100% because there's stuff going on behind the scenes to give one team or the other an advantage, or to give steroids Barry Bonds an advantage, or to give the Seattle team an advantage. It's just stupid. Like, that's fucking embarrassing. And it's even more embarrassing that you guys admit it. That dude was probably Jewish, right? Americans don't do shit like that. Fucking embarrassing. So, nah. The LA Rams, nah. What the LA teams have right now is a lot of hype. No one gives a shit about domestic terrorist LeBron James. No one gives a shit about the team he's so-called putting together. No one gives a shit. It's all hype. It's all hype. Same thing with Friedman's Tampa Dodgers. It's all hype. It's just hype. You take away, you guys want to see it one more time before I go on my thing? Let me show you. This is the Tampa Dodgers. You take all this away. Take all this away. Let's see what's left. Obviously, Cody Bellinger, Cody Seager. I believe in those guys for sure. Let's not forget, Friedman has no loyalty to them. That's why Friedman broke Seager. Seager, a position player, got Tommy John surgery. That's stupid. It's fucking stupid. And then you've got, oh, right, Dave Roberts. Yeah, sure, buddy. With Bob Guerin sitting there with him, right? Yeah, sure. They're no Bochy. He's no Bochy. He's no Tommy Lasorda. So, yeah. But obviously the narrative machines are very, very potent in LA, and that's all it is. I mean, this is the Tampa Dodgers right here. I mean, again, I couldn't fit it in. In that last column, I had to overlap some stuff. I mean, it's one of those too long, didn't read things. Like, these are all the positions in the Tampa Dodger organization. This is the baseball operations, and they have something else. It's just so tiny, and I didn't set it up on my end to read it. So the second column is another baseball operations related, a bunch of other baseball operations related positions. This is what it took to run the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Los Angeles Dodgers through 1979. That's why I can put a little bit more faith in what the O'Malley The original O'Malley did. And then the Sons, I believe, are the ones that sold out to a corporation in early 2000s. So it's just hype. And we're going to figure it out in LA. We'll figure out how to put LA back together. We're going to figure it out. Okay, so let's go here. So let me move into my wrap up of American history. So again, there's some who want to form the white ethno-state, and I get it. And it's your birthright to do so. However, how are you going to do that if some of your people are too busy being high or drunk or obese playing video games? I would believe it if you guys had guys who were clean and healthy. Until then, like I said before, Mexicans and Americans have the same problem. The same source is causing the problem. And once we start talking about it and admitting it, we can get some stuff done, because it stops becoming a secret, which it's technically not a secret anymore, right? The Jews in Hollywood formed an alliance with the Africans. So it's not like they're hiding in the shadows anymore either. Anyway, so I would encourage you guys, you got to get them off the drugs, get them off the video games, get them into some sort of physical activity on a daily basis. That's just the best start you can have. So where I left off yesterday, I started talking about patriots and loyalists. So your loyalists were people who stuck with England, and the best example of this is Cap Anson, who has an insane lineage. His family goes back, they were part of the original English Royal Navy, and then his family traveled to the colonies, and then as the Revolutionary War was on the horizon, one family member stuck with England, the other one stuck with the colonists, which caused a rift in the family. When Cap Anson's dad's generation rolled around, they went to England to make peace with that side of the family, and it sounds like they did so successfully, which is really great for them, because Cap Anson is really something. Okay, so this is this is the Revolutionary War. I want to wrap up. So yesterday I talked about the Boston Massacre. And the Tea Parties, the seditious committees. Massacre Day was observed in Boston as a patriotic holiday until 1776, when the more glorious 4th of July eclipsed it. The seditious committees of correspondence. By 1770, King George III, then only 32 years old, was strenuously attempting to restore the declining power of the British monarchy. He was a good man in his private morals, but he proved to be a bad ruler. Earnest, industrious, stubborn, lustful for power, and later plagued with periodic fits of supposed madness, he surrounded himself with cooperative yes men. Oh my God! Yes men! That's so MLB. That is so Tampa Freeman Dodgers. Justin Turner, the ultimate yes man. And that's let me elaborate a little bit on that. So Justin Turner isn't a baseball player. He has had several injuries. For some reason, he was let go by the Mets. And he was picked up, I believe he was a Ned Coletti pickup. So technically it's a Ned Coletti issue. But nonetheless, Friedman made him into what he is today, in the sense that through analytics, through science, through all this other stuff, Justin basically, Friedman got rid of Matt Kemp, the natural leader for this team. And then Adrian retired, right? He had a lot of injuries. And so Friedman got rid of half the team from the onset. And so he started to fill it with yes men. He started to fill it with fungible bots who would accept platooning and stuff that they would do what the spreadsheet told them to do, right? And Justin Turner was the catalyst for all this. And so in return, Justin Turner has earned millions of dollars. The last time I listened to the Dodgers on the radio, there were a bunch of ads with him. So he's getting paid his blood money for his accomplishment of turning over the LA Dodger organization into the Tampa Friedman organization. And so what they've done is they've built an organization of yes men. It's all guys that agree to kneel, Clayton Kershaw included. It's all guys who are Marxist in their beliefs. They feel, if they're white, they feel guilty about being white, Walker Bueller. And they're all about Friedman, Joe Kelly. And then you've got the narratives, Mookie Betts. And so it is what it is. And I've got to get over this, but I still feel bad for Cody. I hope his family's an active participant in helping him with his child. If he has, especially if he has a son, I would have wanted better for Cody. But hopefully he will overcome and become the player that we all believe he could be. He was, and for many of us, we believe that Cody was going to be the MLB star. Corey Seager obviously is in there, but he doesn't quite have what Cody has. But nonetheless, they are a great pair. So Justin Turner, the yes man, the ultimate yes man, got played his blood money. Congratulations, you could also work for the devil, Justin. With the best used car salesman ever. Totally. So the ill-timed Townsend acts had failed to produce revenue because, let me remind you why. Again, without the internet, without phones, without cars, without airplanes, the colonists stopped the economy in many ways. More effective than the Congress was the widespread adoption of non-importation agreements against British goods. Woolen garments of homespun became fashionable, and the eating of lamb chops was discouraged so that the wool-bearing sheep would be allowed to mature. Are you fucking kidding me? That is off the charts intelligence in action. And I'm sorry, it's very much lacked in 2021. As again, I remind you, why didn't I personally take action sooner? Because I'm a woman. I thought the menfolk would handling it. I did not realize the sad state of the menfolk in America. I didn't realize how widespread this nerdism stuff is. I didn't realize how afraid you guys are to live in real life. You don't get, I will give you that you get to criticize the only fangirls. Like, you guys are basically two sides of the same coin. Like, I mean, you're both within degenerate circles, right? That we need to, the rest of us need to avoid. We tell our daughters, you don't want to be like that. We tell our sons, you don't want to be like that. And we build from there. But I just didn't realize what was happening. I did not realize how widespread the nerdism is among American young men. I didn't realize how afraid you guys are of the weather. I didn't realize how afraid you guys are of free speech or freedom. But part of that is the brainwashing has been so good. And then obviously some of you guys have been raised by parents who were either absent or who also believe that freedom is awful. And it's a lot of undoing before you get to the doing, right? And it's crazy. So I'm talking because the men aren't handling their shit. Okay, so you cannot get angry at someone like me, or you can't get angry at me for talking. If you guys were handling stuff, someone like me wouldn't be necessary. But shit has gone way too far. Somebody needs to say something. And we'll see what happens thereafter, right? So the Townshend Acts failed to produce revenue because they were so rebellious. Flames of discontent in America continued to be fanned by numerous incidents, including the redoubled efforts of British officials to enforce the navigation laws. Resistance was further whipped up by a master propagandist and engineer of rebellion, Samuel Adams of Boston. I'm telling you, man, Bostonians were badass. Badass. God, you gotta love them, man. A cousin of John Adams. Unimpressive in appearance, his hands trembled. He lived and breathed only for politics. His friends had to buy him a presentable suit of clothes when he left Massachusetts on intercolonial business. Zealous, tenacious, and courageous, he was ultra sensitive to infractions of colonial rights. Cherishing a deep faith in common people, he appealed effectively to what was called his trained mob. We need a Samuel Adams. I cannot be Samuel Adams. I can get close to Samuel Adams, but I cannot be Samuel Adams. But if I have to, I will. Skillful also as a pamphleteer, he soon became known as the penman of the Revolution. And of course, you know, Sam Adams, John Adams, Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Paine, the Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death guy, Patrick Henry, George Washington. I mean, where there's none of that among you. You realize this, right? There is a lot to be done before, but the people are ready to push back. Murrieta, California pushed back against Obama when Obama was bussing in his Somalis and other Africans. Jan Brewer, tiny woman, stood up to Barack Obama, that infamous picture of her telling him off. Fuck yeah, you should, when you hear these things, when you see these images, you should be ready to run through a fucking brick wall for your country, and you're not doing it because you're too high. You cannot, your brain is so burnt that you don't have the your brain cells don't react. You have a chemical imbalance, right? Shit that should make you run through a fucking brick wall doesn't, because you're too busy being fat and high and drunk. So you want to build the white ethno state, you start there. You get people off the drugs, you get people off the couch, you get people off the sauce, you get them to lose weight, and then maybe you can talk about the white ethno state. But it's just not going to happen before that. Samuel Adams' signal contribution was to organize in Massachusetts the local committees of correspondence. After he had formed the first one in Boston during 1772, some 80 towns in the colonies speedily set up similar organizations. The Ben Franklin model. Okay, we have appointments and they're all over the place and I just can't get consistency. Maybe I need to figure shit out because I do feel a sense of urgency. I'm going to talk about the Ben Franklin model. I'll figure it out. It will be line streamed. It may not be in the morning, and I just, I don't know. But in the meantime, Scott Presler is getting stuff done. He is coming the closest to getting stuff done in real life. Yes, the registering of voters is great, but what's even better is that people are coming together to listen to him speak. So that's good. That's community building right there. Every time these people get together to listen to him speak, hopefully they remain in contact with each other and they talk about things that their neighborhood lacks or that, their neighborhood, because what's going to motivate people is fixing the problems near their home. Like the streets of LA stink like pot. That's why no Dave Rubin, no libertarianism. Fuck that. The streets stink. Sacramento, same thing. The streets stink like pot. San Francisco, the streets stink like pot and shit. Stuff like that is what we need to motivate people with. San Francisco's crime-ridden. Tech really messed up San Francisco. I remember the last time I was there and it was still okay. It wasn't what I remember it 5 years prior to that, but I haven't been back since, and I guess it's really bad over there now. I mean, what are you gonna do in San Francisco at this point besides like walk the Golden Gate Bridge, right? Like, I mean, what are the piers like at this point? And then, are people still doing business in the finance district? Are people still like Mission Street and stuff like that? What's going on over there? Tech fucked it up for sure. That's why the future is not nerd. Nerds ruin shit. They ruined San Francisco. Okay, so I'm looking for Scott Presler's thing. So you see, like, his second tweet is he was in Maryland. And all these people, hopefully, will stick together and talk with each other. Hopefully, some of them are neighbors. And they talk about their things, that the problems going on in their neighborhoods, whether it's crime, whether it's homelessness, whether it's a lack of business, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever plagues your neighborhood, when you get together in these groups, those are the things that you should talk about. And on top of that, you should be problem solvers. And that's what your representatives are supposed to be working on, not increasing the size of bureaucracy. If anything, any politician that you vote in should be focused on rolling back bureaucracy and all this legislation. That's how we get to the tax code. We run that, we gut it. Gut it. We gotta gut the tax code. Among several other nonsense legislation and stuff like that. So, in Boston during 1772, some 80 towns in the colonies speedily set up similar organizations. Their chief function was to spread propaganda and information by interchanging letters interchanging letters, not the internet, not email, letters, no phones. They didn't have phones, but they figured it out. When I dive into this stuff and I compare it to the excuses, to people's agendas, to just the things that you guys are worried about in 2021, I feel like, you know what? If the country crashes, it was meant to crash. It's I mean, these nerd fights on Twitter, like really, the stuff that you decide to make important, really, like compared to what your ancestors did, no wonder. No wonder the country is in dire straits. No wonder Jewish Dianne Feinstein can propose a bill that prevents Americans from traveling within their country. No wonder. No wonder Dianne Feinstein and her husband can get away with all the financial criminal activity that they engage in. No wonder. No wonder. All right. Their chief function, okay, one critic referred to the committees as the loudest, subtlest, and most venomous serpent ever issued from the egg of sedition. Letters, they were exchanging letters. No more effective device for stimulating resistance could have been contrived. Letters, they did it with letters. Intercolonial committees of correspondence were the next logical step. Virginia led the way in 1773 by creating such a body as the Standing Committee of House of Burgesses. Within a short period of time, every colony had established a central committee through which it could exchange ideas and information with other colonies. These intercolonial groups, which were supremely significant in stimulating and disseminating sentiment in favor of united action, evolved directly into the first American Congresses. So, I've taken up a lot of your time. American history is pretty badass. So, tea parties in Boston and elsewhere, 1773. Parliament passes the Intolerable Act, 1774. You've got the Quebec Act, the Continental Congress, and bloodshed. So it wasn't pretty, right? It wasn't pretty. Some people got tarred and feathered. Some people got killed. Some people went to jail. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't easy. It wasn't free of battles. It wasn't easy. I feel like you guys don't have the stomach for this stuff. That's why you hide over the internet. I mean, to me, that's what it is. It's a safe space for people to hide. All of this is happening in real life. The Afghanis being imported, that's real life. I mean, kudos to you if you guys figure out how to battle that over the internet. Let me start wrapping it up. A line of heroes. Okay, let me read this. Basic military supplies in the colonies were dangerously scanty, especially firearms and powder. Benjamin Franklin seriously proposed going back to the bow and arrow. Even when food was accumulated, wagons were often not available to haul it. At Valley Forge in the winter of 1777 through 78, the shivering American soldiers were without bread for 3 successive days. In one southern campaign, some men even fainted from the lack of food. Do you think that I think you nerds would be able to live through this? Please. That's why I don't have faith in you guys. That's why I'm not going to come to you for marketing help or retweets and likes. Because if the battle came to your porch, would you be able to handle not eating for 3 days? Would you be able to handle the winters? These New England winters, right? Or wherever Valley Forge was. Where was Valley Forge? I don't remember. Manufactured goods were generally short in supply in agriculture America, and clothing and shoes were appallingly scarce. There's a video, some guy who's a part of a military family said that a bunch of pilots were quitting because they're not getting vaccinated. And he's like, good luck furthering your cushy American life. Sorry. Hang on, give me a second. Let's try this one more time. Your cushy America life is being threatened. Clothes, shoes, access to all that stuff, it's being threatened. The path of the patriot fighting men was often marked by bloody snow. At Frigid Valley Forge, during one anxious period, 2,800 men were barefooted or nearly naked. Woolens were desperately needed against the wintry blasts. And in general, the only real uniform of the colonial army was uniform raggedness. During a grand parade at Valley Forge, some of the officers appeared wrapped in woolen bed covers. One Rhode Island unit was known as the Ragged, Lousy, Naked Regiment. American militiamen were numerous, but also highly unreliable. Able-bodied American males, perhaps several hundreds of thousands, had received rudimentary training, and many of these recruits served for short terms in rebel armies. But poorly trained plowboys, though better shots, could not stand up in the open field against professional British troops advancing with bare bayonets. See, I know that. So Americans are being let go from their jobs, including the military, healthcare, education. But that doesn't mean that just because you're no longer working in these environments, it doesn't mean that your skills go away, especially medical. Especially those of you who still have access to your textbooks that say men are men, women are women based on these biological facts. Don't get rid of that stuff. We're gonna need it. What you do is you form your groups in your neighborhood. The teachers help teach the kids in the neighborhood. The doctors provide medical services, figure out your bartering method. The military trained men, you have training, become your area's farmers and ranchers, become your area's police force, become your area's security, neighborhood watch. Just because you are no longer participating in the regime ruling over America doesn't mean that your skills go to waste. I know we're going to need your skills. We're going to need you. We're going to need your skills. Let me put it that way. A few thousand regulars, perhaps 7,000 or 8,000 at war end, were finally whipped into shape by stern drill masters. Notable among these officers was an organizational genius, the salty German Baron von Steuben. He spoke no English when he reached America, but he soon taught his men that bayonets were not for broiling beefsteaks over open fires. As they gained experience, these soldiers of the Continental Line could hold their own in open battle against crack British troops. And that's part of the issue too, right? Sorry, I'm trying not to sneeze again. We don't have elders, or we don't have elders. There's one guy who should be an elder for American baseball players, and he's not. And it is, for me, it is disappointing because and it's my fault for believing something that wasn't really there. But it's too bad. So your ancestors figured it out. Your ancestors survived not eating for 3 days. They got trained. They had no clothes. They had no shoes in winter. Somewhere Rhode Island. I don't remember where Valley Forge is located. We need to figure this stuff out. As Jews, like Dianne Feinstein, propose bills to prevent Americans from traveling within their own country, what are you going to do? What are you going to do in real life? So I hope that you guys pick something up from all this. I hope that it encourages you to find, whether you pick up this version of the American pageant, or you pick up a different American history textbook that you trust. I hope it encourages you to motivate yourself and then motivate others. And there's plenty of opportunity for everybody to do something. There's plenty of opportunity for those being let go who have skills such as medicine, protection, fighting, I guess. There's plenty of opportunity for everybody. So I've said a lot. I've said my piece over this week, over the last 3 weeks. I stick to my opinions based on my observations, judgments. I'm making conclusions. I love this country. I don't know Mexico enough to say that I love it too, but I know that being of Mexican blood is important. Therefore, Mexico has to be helped too, for me, from my perspective. America and Mexico, the source of our problems is the same one. They're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. They're going to keep importing. They're going to keep looking for their future Barack Obamas. They're going to keep creating Marxists. Stuff can get done, but you're not going to create the white ethno-state in this environment under these conditions during this time. It's going to happen in the future, but it's not going to happen right now. So I've said a lot. Oh, hopefully you picked up something in everything or in some of what I've said. I'm going to see what I'm going to do. Again, I have a lot of stuff that I need to take care of in October. As of right now, I will not be live streaming until about the second week of November. Maybe I'll pre-record stuff. I'm not sure. But I don't know. All we can do is wait and see what happens and do our thing and go from there. If God's on our side, then we're blessed as were the original Americans, the colonists. And I believe that America was blessed by God. There's no way you can get away with all the stuff that they got away with just on miracle. It's just not possible. So if you got this far, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. I don't come from a place of malice. It's an effort to kick your butts into action, if anything. I love this country. So this is my contribution to it. So if you're a sports fan, you're probably looking to the Tom Brady versus Bill Belichick game as much as I am. Otherwise, you should be working on stuff to help further America without balkanizing it, without Jewifying it further, without just losing more of what made this country great. So, have a wonderful weekend. Read some books. Have a wonderful month of October. I should be back by Veterans Day to discuss that. We'll talk Thanksgiving. We'll talk more America. We'll talk more professional sports. All that good stuff. So, again, if you made it this far, thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful month of October. Talk to you guys soon.